Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
John sent me an interesting update on the tax issue in Michigan. I mentioned, I think about a week ago, that the Michigan Supreme Court struck down a law, and a very, very strange law, although there are other states around the nation that have this law on their books. But a tax collecting agency like the county or a city could foreclose on someone's property for non-payment of taxes, pay themselves the unpaid taxes, and then keep the overage or the surplus left over from the auction. And it made no sense. And so the Michigan Supreme Court struck that down and said that's wrong. But they've been doing this for so long now, they're concerned they may have to give a lot of money back. A lot of money back. So now people in government hate to be told they're wrong, and they hate to give money back. So now the government is turning on itself. And so here's a story from Reason.com written by Eric Boehm. County wants answers from treasurer who seized man's home over $8 tax bill. And the case that went to the Michigan Supreme Court was a man who underpaid his taxes by a little over $8. He paid his taxes, they were just short by $8.41. So they foreclosed on the property, sold it for I think $30,000 or $25,000, and then they paid themselves the $8, and then they just kept the rest of the money. So the Michigan Supreme Court said that's wrong. You got to give the guy his money back, all the overage of the surplus, but you also have got to stop doing this. And the implication is, and anybody you did it to can now get their money back. So here's the thing. In a letter sent this week to Oakland County Treasurer Andrew Meisner, county commissioners want answers. And here's the quote. It appears your actions as treasurer to foreclose on an Oakland County retiree's property for $8.41 has exposed the county to serious risk. The letter informs Meisner that the county plans to form a special committee to investigate his use of tax asset forfeiture and to make recommendations to protect the Oakland County taxpayers. Now, here's the problem. This was the man's job. The law was there. He wasn't the only person doing this. And it appears they're basically saying, look, dude, you're the one who toppled the apple cart. We're coming after you. But it wasn't him. So as Reason pointed out previously, Michigan state law empowered county treasurers to take aggressive actions to quickly foreclose and auction properties with unpaid taxes. The same law allowed counties to keep the proceeds in excess of the back amount owed, and that provision created a perverse incentive for counties to seize homes, sell them, and keep the profits. There were a couple other cases along with the one about the $8.41. That was a home in Southfield. But another one gained some attention when Gratiot County seized 35 acres of land from a man over a $750 tax debt. Property was sold for $100,000, and of course the county kept the extra money. In the $8.41 case, Oakland County was required to return the surplus proceeds to plaintiffs, and defendants failure to do so constituted a government taking under the Michigan Constitution, entitling plaintiffs to just compensation. Justice Brian Zara wrote in the state Supreme Court's majority opinion just last week. The high court sent the case back down to a lower court to decide how the man should be compensated, how much, and in what manner, and so on. So now, county officials in Oakland County are apparently trying to blame Meisner, the treasurer who's just following the rules. So even Reason says, the real culprit here is the 1999 state law that created this mess in the first place. In a statement after last week's state Supreme Court ruling, Meisner said he was merely following the law when he authorized the seizure of the home. Now that the state's highest court has found constitutional issues with how counties do that, Meisner said he was looking forward to working with the legislature to change the state law in a way that works well for property owners and our local communities while being fair to the majority of property owners who pay their property taxes on time. In the meantime, Meisner's office is coming under scrutiny. The Detroit News reports that the Oakland County Board of Commissioners is seeking information about how many properties have been foreclosed, what profits the county kept, and how those funds were spent. Now people are asking questions. And perhaps more interestingly, how will they pay all this money back? And what kind of a dent will that put in their bottom line? Some of that information has been available for county commissioners to review for years if only they'd cared to look. And that's Eric Boehm writing. Like many other counties in Michigan, Oakland County maintains a delinquent tax revolving fund where the proceeds from tax asset forfeitures are deposited. if the county has a positive balance in its DTRF at the end of a fiscal year, the excess funds get channeled into the county budget. And that is how Wayne County, which is the county that Detroit sits in, has funneled more than $382 million in delinquent tax surpluses into its general fund budget since 2012. So without that money, they got to find it somewhere else. In Oakland County, where the man's property was sold for the $8 shortage, it's been lucrative there as well for the DTRF. According to their most recent comprehensive annual financial report, they had $196 million in that revolving fund. The same document details plans to use the DTRF for a number of pet projects, including the construction of a new animal shelter and adoption center. County also anticipates the continuation of annual transfers from the DTRF to the general fund general purpose operations in the amount of $3 million annually through the years 2019 to 2023. Now, of course, that's what they've been doing for the last few years as well, but they may have to stop that going forward because they're not going to have all this free money anymore. The most important thing for state and county officials to do now is to ensure they update their policies and practices to follow the Supreme Court ruling. They have to protect homeowners from facing a similar fate. And again, if someone's delinquent in their taxes, they can send them all kinds of notices. They can put a lien on the property, and they can foreclose on it. But all they can do is pay themselves the amount they were owed, the cost of this transaction, and then the surplus would go back to the former homeowner. But they don't want to do that for $8.41, right? County attorneys always knew they could end up on the hook for huge payments to compensate homeowners who had their equity stolen for unpaid tax bills. During arguments before the state Supreme Court, attorneys for Oakland County argued that it was impossible for local governments to compensate all homeowners who had been caught in similar circumstances because they said that would cost $2 billion. Can you imagine that? You grabbed so much money that when someone says, hey, that was wrong, you got to give it back, you go, I can't, it was too much money. Meanwhile, the state Supreme Court literally laughed. They literally laughed at the idea that property owners shouldn't be fairly compensated because of the fiscal burden for the counties that ripped them off. After years of stealing excess value from homeowners to pad their own budgets, Michigan counties appear headed for a reckoning with their unconstitutional behavior. Eric Boehm wrote the article, and it's on Reason.com. They've been doing a great job hammering away on this one. And, I said Michigan finally straightened this one out. There's other states out there, I think about a dozen of them, that still do this. And I suspect these kinds of challenges will keep coming, and eventually they'll all get in line with this one. If not, someone will take it to the U.S. Supreme Court, where I suspect this would get struck down. But I think it's interesting that now the county commissioners who've been spending this money all along turn to the guy who's been taking it in going, we think this is your fault. You screwed up. What were you doing all this time? Why weren't you complaining when he was giving you the money? So in typical fashion, there's a joke about honor among thieves. I don't know if it's a joke so much as just a saying, but it's a well-worn saying for a reason. And the question is, what does that tell us when they start turning on each other? Lock a bunch of rats in a room and throw in some food. Watch what happens until the food is gone. Watch what happens after the food is gone. That's the interesting thing, and that's what we're seeing here. So, John, thanks for sending me the story. Reason, thanks for publishing it and keeping this in the public eye. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. If you can't be kind, at least have the decency to be vague.